Hi, MOPS. Thank you so much for inviting Breaking Free in and being willing to learn about sexual exploitation and how Breaking Free is providing services and support to the women who have been sexually exploited. My name is KJ Bohr. I'm the Director of Communications and Program Development here at Breaking Free. And before that, I was an advocate providing direct services for the participants of our program. I just want to start by honoring that this is a difficult subject. And you might experience any kind of triggers or discomfort while we're talking about sexual exploitation. If that is to happen, I want to encourage you to take some deep breaths and maybe doodle or color to do things to help calm your nervous system. And then even make a note about what it was that was the trigger so that you can then share that with a close friend or a therapist afterward. Breaking Free was founded by Vidnita Carter in 1996. Vidnita is a survivor of sexual exploitation and prostitution, and she found that there really were no services at that time to assist her in getting out of the life. So she started her own organization. We are a survivor led organization, and we do that because we believe that people who have healed from certain things are able then to help heal others who are going through something similar. Every year, we help 150 to 200 women and girls, and sometimes men and boys, um, build a new life outside of sexual exploitation. We provide direct services and advocacy, housing, education, and immediate action. And this does include rehabilitation services for purchasers of sex in our Men Breaking Free program. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about that. Now, we define sexual exploitation as the exchange of any sexual act for anything of value. So, yes, that does involve money, but oftentimes that can involve a place to stay. Um, it can involve food or drugs. It can involve anything of value to that person. And a lot of people believe that it's a choice. Our media really portrays that for a lot of people, sexual exploitation is actually sex work. And they're choosing their clients, and it's a safe environment, and they just enjoy doing it. But we have found that actually that is not the reality. That is something sold to us by the media or people who are purchasers of sex who want to continue to purchase sex. The majority of the time, there is a fraud, force, or coercion involved. Um, Myself, for example, I worked in a strip club when I was younger. To begin with, I did experience childhood sexual trauma, which we would call grooming. So, normalizing sexual violence in my life at a very young age. Then I believed this idea that strip clubs must be safe because they're legal and they have managers and bouncers there to protect you. So when I went to work there, I thought that if I was harassed in any kind of way, there are laws that protect me against that. But the first time I was sexually assaulted and I told the manager said, "Well, why did you let that happen?" And he got really mad at me. And so this just perpetuated the idea that I had already been groomed with, that sexual violence was my own fault. And there was nothing protecting me. I knew that sexual harassment and assault was going to continue to happen. And I was already submerged in this world. And so I had to learn to dissociate to continue to do it. For me, that was through the use of drugs. But a lot of our clients, we call it the choiceless choice. Now, I was fraudulently entered into sexual exploitation, but some people are actually forced and are very much so manipulated into the situation. Um, uh, because of the nature of being unaware of who your next client is going to be, and you don't have that choice in choosing your clients, the threat of violence is very real and constant. And the majority of the women who've experienced sexual exploitation have experienced sexual violence, rape, and assault. in addition to the people that they are surrounding themselves with, because there's this social isolation that happens when you're not sure who to talk to about what you're going through. And so you just shut down. The outside world judges you, the inside world is abusing you. So the women that we serve often experience PTSD equivalent to those returning home, veterans returning home from war. They experience mental health challenges, um, uh, and physical challenges, as well as drug abuse and so chemical dependency. Um, so it's a very isolating way to live. And it is not something that if people knew this was going on, they would ever choose to live. They would never choose to live this way. Human trafficking is big business. This is why it's happening. It makes money. It is the second largest criminal enterprise worldwide, second to drugs and guns. Pornography fuels the industry's sexual appetite, really desensitizing people to sexual intimacy. And we find that a lot of people are looking for something called a PSE. It's called a porn star experience, which is a completely impersonal experience, always guided by the purchaser. The woman or boy who's being trafficked has no say in what that's going to look like. They just have to oblige. But why is it such big business, and why do traffickers invest so much of their time in recruiting women, girls, men, boys into sexual exploitation? It's because a drug you can only sell one time and it's gone, but a person you can sell over and over and over again. They know that. And so they invest a great deal of time. It's all about power and control. Let's just talk for a minute about recruitment. Recruitment is the process of getting people to be sexually exploited. And a trafficker is going to look in places where they know people have vulnerabilities. So a dating site, someone's on a dating site because they're longing for a relationship, right? They might be in a shelter. They might be in a youth shelter, domestic violence shelter, homeless shelter. Traffickers know that, so they're going to wait outside those places and try to approach the people outside of them. Or people who are going in and out of them. Also, like I said, those dating sites, the Mall of America. I don't know about you, but I know I've walked through the Mall of America and had people walk up to me and say things to me, strangers, trying to approach me in a kind of disrespectful way for a date. And I know that they're traffickers. Those people I would consider to be traffickers looking to see if I'm vulnerable enough for them to manipulate. They're not approaching me asking me for a date, but they're coming up to me and walking by and saying something about the way that I look. Now, if they do this to a young person who is vulnerable, that person could easily find that as maybe a compliment and go after that kind of attention. And then the trafficker will begin to work on them, tell them lies, and try to get them to fall in love with them, essentially, and then turn them into becoming someone that they would traffic. There are same thing with a dating app. There are often promises being made. We've also heard of the experiences of where young girls are asked to come to bachelor parties and all they'll have to do is dance around and it's no big deal. But as soon as they go there, they are drugged and then they are forced to do other things. So those things are happening, that kind of very abusive recruitment, as well as more subtle kinds of recruitment. But it's happening everywhere. Sexual exploitation comes in many different forms. And whether it's legal or illegal, the main point is you do not have a choice in who the people that are purchasing you are going to be, and you don't have a choice in what they're going to expect of you. And again, the media sort of says, well, you could just walk away or you could choose something differently. But when you have a trafficker who's expecting you to do these things, you're more afraid of that trafficker harming you for not doing what you're told to do than you are of what that customer is going to do. And so your boundaries and your own limits are disregarded. Again, this has to do with that recruitment. I encourage you to look up this video called Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs, How to Be a Pimp. It's by an organization called Treasures. You have to Google, or you have to look up on YouTube that entire title. And it's going to explain to you how traffickers use Maslow's hierarchy of needs to manipulate people into sexual exploitation. They're going to figure out your need, and then they're going to be the answer to that need. And then within that process, they're going to manipulate you into selling yourself. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about breaking free and how we provide the answer to those Maslow's hierarchy of needs to try to assist the women to get into a better place in their life, to be able to follow their own hearts and dreams and heal. So to the very start, to meet their basic needs, we actually have a drop-in center that's open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And anyone can come in and take a shower, get warm, clean clothes, a warm meal, and even take a nap because we have 2 beds available as well. In addition to that, we do have an emergency shelter. It's a temporary shelter with 4 private rooms where people can stay when they're in the interim. So if they come to us and they are in the process of getting housing or they're waiting for a bed to open in a treatment center, they can stay there temporarily. It's always full. In addition to that, we have permanent housing, also always full. But once you're a part of our program, you can qualify to receive permanent supportive housing. And so we're meeting that basic need of finding a safe place to begin to heal. In addition to that, we are providing, we provide our Sisters of Survival group. It's a support group. It's a 14-week curriculum where each week we pull apart and look at the different elements of sexual exploitation. And this is probably the first time for most of the women that come through our program where they actually have a safe place to talk about and find a language to describe the experiences that they have walked through. Because what happens in sexual exploitation is you're not allowed to talk about your feelings. You are expected to dissociate and shut down and cannot talk about what's happened to you. And so they believe what the trafficker is telling them. They believe that this was a choice. They believe that this is them making money and using their assets. But in their heart, they know it's not true. They know it's not right. They know it's not healthy or healing. But they aren't given those words to stand up for themselves and to be able to describe the atrocities that they've experienced. So our Sisters of Survival group, it is survivor-led, and we're able to process and find a language for what we have experienced. In addition to that, we have our direct services, our one-on-one case management, where we help people find housing or get mental health assistance or get treatment or get employment, work on resume building, those kinds of things. Moving up that Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we want to help them realize that they have a place to process and really grow in who they truly are and who they were created to be. So we have a writer's bureau where they can write their stories, speaker's bureau where they can talk about their story and learn to present it to educate the public. We have camping trips and Christmas parties, alumni group, which continues that Sisters of Survival group. We try to find ways to get them involved in the community and know that they are a part of our family. In addition, we have something called Men Breaking Free. Our Men Breaking Free program is court ordered for people who have been arrested for purchasing sex. It's an all day workshop where they learn about the realities of sexual exploitation and then are given a place to process and look at the root cause of why they purchased in the first place. It's a supportive environment